All right. Sing us the song.
Balilaka, Balilaka. That's a different song. I actually had this... Watching this movie reminded me of, like, the musical numbers that they'll put into, like, movies and stuff. And when I was in choir, like, my freshman year, we had to sing a song called Balilaka, which is, like...
Frere Jacques.
Yeah. But I just remember, like, being like, why are we singing this Indian song? There's not a single Indian student in the class. Like,
it's so weird, especially, like, down there, like, you know.
Yeah.
You'd see the plays going on. It's like, this is not a play you should be putting on if you have an all-white cast.
Yeah.
Like, scrolling through TikTok, I'll sometimes just stumble upon, like, being like, you know, it's supposed to be cringy. It was like, hey, guys, look at this all-white cast of In the Heights or something. It's like, oh.
Yeah. Yeah. So, that came back to me, and I was like, oh, jeez. But,
we're back for Screen Weens.
Yeah.
Episode 137, I think. I forget every week. Don't worry, guys. Pierre did not embezzle any money from us.
What?
Did you hear about Super Mega?
No, I didn't.
Jackson embezzled $60,000 from them. Like, actually.
Wow. Yeah, no, I haven't listened to Super Mega probably...
I haven't watched or listened to anything from them in like a while. Not that I think they're still just as funny and stuff. It's just not my thing anymore.
Yeah. I think that they definitely reached a point where they, like, stagnated for me personally, so I was just like,
that's
all right.
fair. Yeah, that's fair.
It was around the time they started the Patreon, so I remember them being like, yo, give us the Patreon money, and I was like, But, yeah. Damn.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to do a little looking into that.
Apparently he spent over 10 grand on alcohol alone over the past 3 years. I'm
wow.
Like, holy fuck.
Yeah.
How are you alive?
That's a good question.
So that's... Don't worry, but Pierre has not embezzled any money from us because no one listens to us and we don't make any money.
Yeah, but Joe, however...
Joe... Yeah.
We'll have to keep an eye on him.
That's true. But yeah, welcome to 137 of Screen Weens. My name is London.
I'm Thomas.
We talk about movies occasionally.
We do.
We occasionally also talk about other stuff, like embezzlement.
Mm-hmm. Or tanks.
Yeah.
Yeah,
true.
We talked about a tank on one episode, I think. Yeah. What's that movie?
The Beast of
yes.
War, or just The Beast and Fury, which sucks.
Oh, I didn't even think of Fury. I just thought of The Beast of War.
My coworker brought in Fury for like some other one of my coworkers. I'm just like, I hate that movie. They're like, what? It's so good. I'm like, I'm glad you like it. Like, I'm glad people like it. But I'm just like, man, I hated Fury.
Yeah.
I think Fury's a worse movie than Suicide Squad. And that's saying something.
I don't know if I...
maybe if I rewatch Suicide Squad, but remembering both. Like, Suicide Squad at least has the iconic line, what are we, some kind of Suicide Squad?
That is true.
You gotta admit, that's a classic line.
But you get the tear of blood on Shia when he gets shot in the head. Spoiler alert for Fury.
But yeah, let's talk about what we did this week before we jump into Baahubali and Baahubali 2.
Mm-hmm.
Anything, Thomas?
Yeah. I don't know if I finished this last week. I know I was watching it, but I finished Star Trek Enterprise Season 3.
Okay, no, you had not.
So I finished that season. It got a little better towards the end, but still, it's not good. Very inconsistent.
And they have how many seasons of that?
There's 4, so I've got one more. But I was like, I need an Enterprise break. My faith of the heart is waning, so I jumped over to the other really notoriously bad Star Trek series, Discovery. And
that's a new one, right?
Yeah,
I've heard it's picked up, and I've heard season 1's pretty rough. But
season 2, I'm about halfway through season 2 right now. Season 1 is very rough. I like a lot of the ideas they're working with, but the execution is really bad. And apparently there was a showrunner who had like been working on something and he left like partway through, so I think that probably contributed to it.
Got it.
But season 2 has been much more consistent so far. It still has its moments where I'm like, but I am liking it a lot more, season 2. And I'm very excited because Pike is in season 2, and I'm really excited for his show in May. I'm hoping that's good, but we will see. So, yeah, aside from that...
When's Worf gonna get a show?
Oh, dude, I would love a Worf TV show.
They should give it to, like, the random side characters. Like the hologram doctor from Voyager.
They can give it to
Worf. I can't remember his name.
They can give it to Worf's brother, because then it would just be Tony Todd. And it'd be like, yeah, Tony Todd.
Oh, fuck, I forgot about that.
Yeah. I think he's only in, like, 3 episodes across, like, all the Star Treks. So it's like... But... Yeah, so I'm going to finish Discovery Season 2... And the plan is to circle back around to Enterprise and finish that off.
Mm-hmm. And then watch Lower Decks.
No, Lower Decks takes place after TNG. Because Riker fucking pilots Titan in that. So it's like... I'm sure I probably wouldn't lose anything, but I've stuck to a certain type of order thus far. So it's like I may as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I'm going to... After I finish Enterprise, I'm going to watch through probably the rest of TNG, and then hopefully make my way to Deep Space Nine.
I've been thinking about I've been like, maybe I should watch some more Star Trek, but every time I think about it, I'm like, I just kind of want to rewatch Deep Space Nine.
Yeah.
I do actually kind of want to watch Prodigy too. Like I've heard that one's actually pretty decent.
No, I'm excited for Prodigy. I'm excited for Lower Decks too, but in a much lesser sense.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, it's a kind of different kind of Star Trek, but I hear a lot of people like it, so it's like okay. But yeah, I'm not looking forward to Picard because I hear that one's not very good. But
which is a shame because I like the idea of it. He mostly says I like I like characters being old and things.
I know. Old man show for the man who was an old man when they made the first show.
Yeah, he's like, look, he's older. Yeah. Now he's bald.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he's completely bald.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's pretty much... Oh, I finished the Arlen Park arc, and we're like partway through lockdown, so...
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
One Piece. Has there been more new chapters? I haven't read in like 2 weeks.
The last chapter was 10:45. We were just on a break this last week, so like we'll get a new chapter upcoming Thursday.
Okay, I think I'm still caught up then.
Yeah, because the last thing was like, without getting super into big spoilers, it was like the Rhizo chapter.
Yeah, I think I'm caught up.
Okay.
I'll double check afterwards, but I'm pretty sure. Let's see, what did I do this week? Me and Pierre watched Ambulance in a theater by ourselves.
That's the Jake Gyllenhaal, like...
Yeah.
Dog Day Afternoon kind of looking movie, right?
Yeah, except that it's Michael Bay, and they're in an ambulance the whole time.
Oh, yeah.
And it's just like a big chase scene. I don't know what it was, but like the energy surrounding the movie, it was like better than expected. I'm like, what? And I'm like, is this a good it was like, and I was like, I would just want to see some fun stuff. It was okay. Like it was not as bad as I was dreading it, but it wasn't as good as I was hoping for, kind of thing. It was fine. Mm-hmm. I like the two like central performances, like the two brothers kind of thing, because it's his name's Yaya. He's I think he's the main character in the new Candyman.
Yeah.
He's in that. It's Yaya something. Yahya Abdul-Mateen and Jake Gyllenhaal. They're both great in it. And they have some good dialogue together. And some of the action's really fun, but it's long. And it feels long. And I didn't actually think it escalated as much as I wanted it to. Some of it is like, it just keeps going, it just keeps escalating, but then they kind of like plateau. And then the last like 40 minutes, I'm just like, come on, send them to the moon. Yeah.
Damn, if only.
But it was alright. It was a decent enough watch. What else did I watch? I think I watched... Did I talk about Upgrade last week?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. Because I think I watched that.
That's the one with, not Tom Hardy, but the guy you mix up with him constantly.
Budget Tom Hardy. Logan Marshall Green, I think, or something. Yeah, he kind of looks like Tom Hardy. And the upgrade's also kind of like, it's instead of it's an alien symbiote, it's like, you have a weird, maybe evil robot inside you?
I've heard good things about Upgrade.
It's pretty good. The action's really fun. It's by the same director as the newer Invisible Man.
Oh, yeah.
And that has some newer Invisible Man, when they do action, it has like some pretty fun action sequences. And this is just like, it's an action movie, and it's very fun. And it's made on a pretty small, like a smaller budget at least. And it looks really cool. And yeah, I thought it was pretty great. And it doesn't really outstay its welcome. It's pretty brisk. I think it's like an hour, 40 minutes.
Yeah.
What else did I watch? I rewatched Ocean's 11, the Soderbergh version, not the original one, for the first time in like 12 years or whatever. Because I had watched it a couple times, like on TV when I was a kid, but I didn't really remember it.
Yeah.
It's pretty good. I like that movie. I like the energy of it. It never really feels like they're going to fail, which I guess could be a deterrent for some people. But I'm just like, this is a fun little watch. Like, yeah, I know they're going to win, but how are they going to win?
Yeah.
So, it was a fun watch. And George Clooney, like, man, he has a lot of charisma when he wants to. Like, some of those movies, I'm like, wow, yeah, I get it.
Yeah.
I watched The Day Trippers, which is the first movie by the guy who made Superbad. And it's this weird, like, kind of like, almost like mumblecore-esque film about a woman who's in love with Stanley Tucci. Aren't we all? But they're married, and she finds like a love note to someone else. And she's like, uh-oh, what the fuck is this? But she's like, well, he's like a talent agent. Like, there are actual explanations. Like, maybe this note just fell out of it. Like, maybe it's something. But she's like, but I don't know. So, of course, she tells her whole family about this. And they're like, I know what we'll do. We will take a trip to the city, a day trip, if you will. And they were just going to go be like, hey, what's this? And they do that. It's like a small little, like, I don't know, reminds me of like the pacing or the structure of like something like Ferris Bueller's Day Off or something. And they kind of just go on like little adventures throughout the city. It has some fun dialogue, and yeah, it's like a good enough watch. Liev Schreiber's in it. And he's like really young and really sexy, and I'm like,
yeah.
But yeah, it was a pretty good one. I'd seen it on my watch list for a long time because I had it like a long time ago, and I was scrolling through Criterion Channel because I'm a cinephile. And I'm like, oh yeah, let's watch this. And then two other movies I watched. I watched Censor, which is a newer horror movie that came out last year. Kind of supposed to encapsulate like 70s and 80s, like video nasties. It's about a woman in the UK who works as like a censoring video nasties to put them onto the market. And then, it's like a meta commentary on the way that we censor. I get what it's going for. I like it. Sometimes it was like pretty short. I think it was like an hour and a half, and it kind of just outstayed its welcome at that length. I get what it's going for. I think it was a first-time director. I want to see more of their work, like in the future, but like it was fine.
Yeah.
And then I rewatched Lights Out, the David F. Sandberg film, because I remember watching it in theaters, like, and loving it, and being like, "This is fucking scary." But, that was 6 years ago. That was before I was really into movies, and taste changed. So I rewatched that, and I'm definitely less hot on it now, but I still think it's pretty good. Like, it's pretty much just jump scares, the movie. Like, there are a fuck ton. But I think the atmosphere around the jump scares is well built enough. I like the cast enough. Like, there's some fun characters. And I like what the movie's going for. That, like, I still really liked it. I get people that don't like it. Like, they don't want to just see a bunch of jump scares. But if I'm going to watch a movie with a bunch of jump scares, I at least want them to be good. Yeah. And I think this one is good. Like, I like the idea that, you turn off the light, something appears. Like that. It's a fun enough thing.
Mm-hmm.
I remember watching the short film last year for the first time.
Yeah, I've seen the short film.
And I think the short film's really good up until, like, the last frame. Because the creature just looks fucking stupid.
Yeah.
And there was a bunch of Easter eggs in this one, now that I've seen, like, every David F. Sandberg thing, is, like, the first office you can see, like, a bobblehead of the original creature, and there's, like, a bunch of stuff throughout the movie like that. So that was fun. And, like, the first woman in the movie is David F. Sandberg's wife, who was in the original short film, and who's in, like, most of the short... They just, like, go home, and they just make short films together. It's very cute. But she, like, always dies, and she doesn't die in this movie. So it's just, like, it's fun. It's a fun movie, and it's especially fun if you're a fan of Sandberg. So... And then he made Shazam, which is just a funny, like, made this, and then Shazam.
Yeah, didn't he direct some of the Annabelle movies?
He did the second one, which I think is the good one. That's like the prequel one.
That's the one where it's like the orphanage, right?
Yeah, like the farmhouse orphanage thing.
Yeah. That one was pretty good. I think that.
And I think that one, like, I think David F. Sandberg at the very least is a good, like, horror director. Like, he stages his stuff really well. Like, it feels like you're watching something, you're like, this is a David F. Sandberg movie. You, like, feel it. You're like, yeah, I'm digging it. While the other ones, I'm like, I don't know who the fuck made this.
Yeah.
And I don't want to know. Because they're my worst enemy, because these movies fucking suck.
Yeah, a lot of them are not good. But
which is so weird, because the Conjuring universe, like, is so inconsistent. Like, the main series I think is pretty good. I think the third one's pretty fucking goofy, but I still like it. And then it's like, oh, you got what else? Annabelle, which has one good movie. Curse of La Llorona, which fucking sucks. Okay, yeah, I know you like Annabelle 3.
Yeah.
Okay, it has 1 to 2 good movies. Did you watch Curse of La Llorona? I can't remember.
Yeah, no, I've seen them all pre-Conjuring 3, which I still have not watched yet.
La Llorona, I think, fucking sucks.
Yeah, that is by far probably the worst one.
And I think The Nun is probably almost just as bad, but I think it's funny at times.
Yeah, I think The Nun
it's kind of laughably bad.
It's, like, mostly just kind of, like, boring padding, but, like, beneath that boring padding, there's kind of a schlocky, fun action horror.
Yeah,
so it's
like, you know, like...
Okay.
Like, it could maybe be recut into, like, a fun little, like, half-hour romp.
Yeah.
And, you know, I don't remember anything about Curse of La Llorona except Linda Cardellini was in, but...
Cops. It was very, very...
Oh, yeah. Now I remember. But The Nun, you know, whatever. I'm French-Canadian. Still remember that line.
No, I don't. But I remember the ending. She, like, spits...
Well, yeah, that's exactly... She's like,
oh,
fuck
is that what
you,
she says?
Frenchman. And then he's like, I'm French-Canadian. Then spits the holy blood at her or whatever.
Oh,
and I was like, what?
Oh, yeah.
I remember losing it in the theater.
Blood of Jesus.
Yeah.
That movie's fucking crazy.
I kind of want to rewatch it.
Yeah. Of all of them, that one would probably be, like, kind of in the upper half of the Conjuring movies I would rewatch.
But yeah, those are the things I rewatched or watched. Been playing a couple board games. Been playing a little more Lego Star Wars. You know, I'm pretty into Lego Star Wars. I think that the first episode levels are weaker than the rest, so I've been going through. I like episode 2 and episode 3 a lot more, but I like the world built. Like, I've been exploring stuff, and it is just fun to walk around stuff. I have Dexter Jetster, so I've just been walking around Coruscant and just Dexter Jetster.
I see. Nice.
But yeah, and then of course we watched the world-famous Baahubali, the beginning, and Baahubali, the conclusion. I believe it's time to start talking about those.
I didn't watch them. No, I did. I did watch them.
So, let's talk about the beginning. This is directed by a guy named, I know it's S.S. Rajamouli, I believe is his name. And he has a movie that was just in theaters. I almost went to see it. But it's already out of theaters. I should have seen it first because it was in there for like a decent chunk of time for a foreign film in like a regular theater. I was there for probably like 3 weeks.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Which I heard it's really good. And I guess spoiler, I did enjoy these movies. I enjoyed them. So I probably would enjoy this one. So I'll probably see it when it hits streaming or whatever. Mm-hmm. But yeah, he made the first one in 2015, and it ends with being like, it's going to all come to an end 2016. The second one didn't come out until 2017. I don't know what happened. Maybe little delays or something. But yeah, it's a pretty, like, familiar story. Pierre was talking about it, because he's like, this sounds familiar. It's based on, like an old epic poem from India or something like that, at least loosely.
Yeah.
And a lot of cultures have stories similar to this.
Yeah, it's kind of tropey in that sense.
A lost, which I think is fine if you're just like, yeah, this is literally an adaptation of an old story that a lot of cultures have, where it's just, a prince is lost and then reclaims his throne when he's an adult. Like, that's the base premise. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so, first movie, hey, we meet, Baahubali. An older or a woman's running away from armed guards who are trying to kill her. She kills them, and then she gets swept away in a river, and she's like going to drown. And she prays to the god Shiva, and is like, please, I know I must suffer for what I have done, but save this child. And she just fucking lifts her hand up. And she dies, but this, god leaves the body pretty much exactly how it is until the baby's found the next day. And as soon as the baby's picked up, it just starts drifting away. So this baby's raised in this village at the bottom of this, giant mountainous terrain, at this bottom of this waterfall. They close up the cave that she had come through, so it's pretty much inaccessible. But even as a kid, he's like, I want to get up there. That's his dream. We don't know if that's just, he's just a kid, or, this is him wanting to return to his ancestral homeland.
I think we get that answer later in the movie.
Yeah. But he pretty much just starts climbing. He's like, I'm going to fucking climb the shit.
Yeah.
And it just
tries and falls,
keeps cutting. Years. Yeah, he keeps getting older and getting a little farther. And then it cuts to him, and he's 25 at this point. We don't really find this out for a bit, but he looks, this is fine. Mm-hmm. He's an adult now. He has a funny mustache. And he's still doing it. And his mom's like, holy shit, that's it. So she's like, I'm just gonna go pray to Shiva to stop this. Mm-hmm. And she has to, take a bucket of water from the river and pour it on the shrine that's, I don't know, half a mile up. I don't know how far it is, but it's a decent chunk of, footwork to get up there, and she has to pour it over it. And she has to pour it over 1,016 times or something, because she did it 15. She's like, okay, only 1,001 to go. And I'm like, excuse me?
Yeah.
So he's like, I won't let my mom do this. So he just fucking breaks the shrine out of its holder and just picks it up and carries it to the waterfall. And he's like, there you go. The gods happy now.
Yeah. And then the priest guy who was basically the whole time he's like, well, why don't I just carry the water for you? And he's like, no, she has to do the work. It's like, all right, well, what if I carry her? No, she has to do the work. So, but yeah, he still moves it over. So then they're debating whether she gets the wish or he gets the wish because he did the work. And she's like, well, he hasn't been praying to the mountain or trying to climb up to the mountain because a mask falls down from the waterfall, and he puts it in the sand, and he realizes, holy shit, this mask is hot.
This mask is a woman.
He draws hair around it, and he's like, I have to climb up the mountain now. So he sings a musical number and
with the ghost of the mask. Mm-hmm. I had when I first started the movie, I had forgotten there was going to be music, and then the first musical number, I'm like, oh yeah, and then he just starts dancing. I'm like, hell yeah,
yeah. He makes his way up there, and then
especially because I think this movie also forgets it's a musical in the last 40 minutes.
Yeah.
Because it's just like fighting. And I get that they're like, we don't really know where to put a song in here.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of Frozen in that regard, where it's like the first half, it's got a few, and then it just kind of tapers out.
Yeah.
I remember starting, like, getting partway through the second one, and they busted out another musical number, and I was like, oh, yeah.
Did you watch these, like, back-to-back, or did you watch them?
I watched...
Because I watched one day, and then the other is the
I watched...
day.
Like the first hour of the first one last night, and I watched the rest of 1 and 2 this morning. So, yeah, so kind of back to back, but not really. But yeah, so he makes his way up the mountain and he finds a big group of people who also have masks, and he's like, "Oh, okay,
yeah." So he follows them, finds out they're pretty much loyal to the should-be queen.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't really explain any of the world until later.
Yeah.
But they're like, she should be the queen. And they're like, we gotta go save her. And all that jazz. And he starts just like fucking with the woman that he was following.
Draws tattoos on her.
And they're like, oh, you don't care about the mission. And she's like, I don't know where the fuck these came from.
But she eventually finds him, and she fights with him, and then he reveals, he's like, I'm come down from the mountain, I have this mask, and she's like, oh shit, you do. You did come from down there. You climbed all the way up here.
Just for me?
I'm in love with you now, so instant chemistry.
Instant.
So yeah, the two of them, he's basically like, yeah, I'm devoted to your cause, and I'm gonna just like, yeah.
Yeah. You know, I don't always get, like, instant fall in love with, but if somebody was like, everything that is yours is mine now. Your goals are now mine. I'd be like, okay, well, I'm gonna take off my pants right now.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, so they're into it, and he's like, yeah, I'm gonna help save that woman that you guys are trying to save, the queen. So, yeah, he basically kind of goes into town and does that. And then it kind of a scene that reminds me of that scene from One Piece where like the statue starts to fall, but it's gonna fall on a bunch of slaves, and people there are just like, who gives a shit?
Baahubali gives a shit.
Yeah, Baahubali comes and stops it. And I love all the scenes where it's like, before like the flashback, I was like, how the fuck does everybody know this guy's Baahubali? He just looks like a guy. They'll just see his face and they'll be like, Baahubali.
And I'll be like, well, this guy they cast as his dad better look a lot like him. And then it cuts to a flashback and I'm like, oh, it's the same actor.
Yeah.
Okay, that this answers my question.
Yeah.
Which I think is fine to do. Like,
in this case, it makes kind of sense. I feel like it kind of fits into that mythos kind of feel.
Yeah. And what I will say is I think that the guy who played him, I think he does a decent enough job of playing, like, of differentiating his performance, at least a bit. Like, he makes it's clear that they're very similar, but they're at least a little different in the way he plays them.
Yeah, I'd say the son comes off as, like, a little bit more prone to anger.
Yeah, definitely. Like, I think it was Pierre that said it, and he felt more like an amalgamation of his parents' emotions, like, because his mom is a firecracker, as they would say. She's like, I will fucking kill you.
Yeah, she's just been gathering twigs for, like, like a pyre? Is that what those are called?
Yeah. She's just like, Katapa. He shows up, who's this, like, royal guard, like, slave, whose whole family has been indebted to the royal family for, like, generations. He's like, please stop just gathering these sticks. Why are you doing this? Like, you're acting crazy. And she's like, I'm not crazy. I'm gathering all these sticks to light that son of a bitch on fire. Yeah. And I'm like, oh my god!
Mm-hmm. But yeah, so... Yeah, Baahubali saves her and kind of escapes, and then...
They get confronted by the main villain, who's very sexy. He's very hot. But his son confronts them, and they have this, like, big altercation, which ends with Baahubali just fucking cutting his head off. Mm-hmm. And then this is in front of all of like the people, the like mask wearers, and also his like mother that had raised him, they came out. She's like,
yeah.
She's like, what the fuck? She's like, I haven't seen my son in 2 weeks. It's been 2 weeks. She comes up and he's like, oh, he's murdering people.
Yeah. And then he fights, what's that guy's name? The royal.
Katapa.
Yeah.
Yeah. They like start to fight, but then he sees his face and he just drops the sword and like kneels before him. He's like, Baahubali! And everyone's chanting. He's like, what the fuck is going on, dude?
So
and then you cut. Second story. Mm-hmm. And they start telling the story of his father.
Stretches across the second half of this movie and into like the first like 2/3 of the next movie.
They I think I would say that the newer the past stuff probably takes like 60% of the runtime, and the newer stuff takes about 40%. I don't think it's like a huge difference, but
yeah. But so basically you get to know Baahubali Senior. I don't know what his full name is.
Yeah, let me check.
But yeah,
because that's their last name. So.
Basically, he's like kind of taken in to a kingdom where he's not like actually born of the king and queen. He's like a relative, but he's raised like equally with their.
Well, he is technically he's the son of the current queen, but she dies in childbirth.
Oh, okay.
So he's raised by his aunt. Mm-hmm. Or his aunt-in-law,
who becomes like the acting.
Yeah, she becomes like the acting monarch. Because technically, the guy with the deformed arm, he would be king, but he just sucks. Nobody likes him. Mm-hmm. And he thinks, he's like, is this because of my deformity? And everyone's just like, no, it's because you're an asshole.
Yeah. But yeah, so basically the two sons are both raised, and they're said that they're raised like equally. And yeah, basically whoever is more worthy and honorable will receive the throne. And yeah, so they engage in this competition. Basically, like, there's this guy that they have to kill, and whoever kills him will get the throne. So, like, Baahubali does, like, 90% of the work, and then the guy, like, shoots him with an arrow, and is like, I did it, I'm the king! And the monarch's like, no.
Yeah, fuck that. And she's literally just like, you were just killing people. Baahubali, like, I think his name is Amanendra, and his son's name is Mahendra. But Amanendra, he just was saving people, you know? She's like, yeah, that's not what, a king doesn't do it. And they're like, yeah, so he was gonna be king, and, yeah, but he was, and then this is where the movie starts to wrap up. And they're like, yeah, but he was slain, he was deceived, and obviously, yeah, it's by the brother. Katapa's just like, by me. Mm-hmm. And then the movie just hard cuts after seeing him just fucking stab him. And I actually was not expecting him to say that. Maybe it's just like the way, I was just like, oh!
It was one of those things where, like, before that scene, I wouldn't have, but like the entire lead up where they were like, who deceived? I was like,
yeah,
oh, it's gonna.
Yeah, I was about there with you, but I wasn't expecting them to go for that before that scene. I agree with you there.
But yeah, then that's where the first movie ends, basically. And yeah, do you just want to move straight into the second one? Since it's kind of just one big movie. I feel like there's not like a whole lot differentiating them.
Yeah, we can. And then just give the scores afterwards. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, let's talk about Baahubali 2, the conclusion. Mm-hmm. So, it literally doesn't even have the newer stuff. It just starts with, in the past, Baahubali is going to be crowned king soon. Mm-hmm. But his mother is like, you should go take a tour of your kingdom. Because it's fucking massive. And they're like, we shouldn't be doing this. It's like, nope, it's very important. So he does. And he's supposed to kind of like walk as a commoner. Like, so him and Katapa go, and they're just supposed to be like kind of lowly people just gathering supplies, walking around.
Mm-hmm. End up in this small kingdom where he falls in love with the princess, but he's basically just like, she can't know that I'm this like amazing Baahubali. Like, so I'm just gonna pretend to be like a common guy,
and I'm gonna hype up this other guy instead.
Yeah,
who I think I'll say it right now. I think the second movie is substantially better than the first because I really like the characters in this one. I like the characters. Katapa, I think, is a good character. I think he's the best character in both of these movies, but I think he really gets a lot of character in this one. The guy that he hypes up, I think, has a great arc. Mm-hmm. And his like the mother, the wife in this, I think is a great character as well. Like she is, and I also think the dad in general is probably a better character. I don't mind either of them. I like them both, but so yeah, I like all the characters in this one like quite a lot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think I'd agree. But yeah, basically he's hyping this other guy up, and yeah, he falls in love with the princess, and his brother catches wind of this, but his mother doesn't know yet. So,
he's like, okay, great idea here. I'm gonna be like, I want to marry this lady. Either I get to marry her, or I get to be king, maybe? Like, he's because this whole time he's like, he's pretending like, I don't mind. This is fine. And then immediately his mother turns away and he's just like,
mm-hmm. Yeah, so he basically gets his mother to swear that she'll get her to marry him. And yeah, so fucking she sends like a bunch of like gold, treasure, that kind of stuff, and the princess gets this and she's like, no, like not interested, not this way, like have the decency to like come and ask me to my face, sort of thing. So she like writes basically just a strong worded letter back. And the queen does
you not. Think I want this shit?
The queen does not like that, so
she's like, burn that city.
Yeah, so she attacks the city, and then she sends a letter to Baahubali and is basically like, bring the princess back as your prisoner. And he's just like, no.
Well, that's force that attacked wasn't even theirs. That was another force.
Oh, it was?
Yeah.
I
at least from what because they were saying these are like, I'm pretty sure it was a different force because they say who it was and it didn't sound like a force that they had.
Oh, okay.
But let me double check.
Yeah, but regardless, so he's like, will you come be my prisoner? And she's like, no, but I'll be your equal.
It's the Pindaris.
Oh, okay.
So it was just a different force.
Okay.
There's just a lot of fighting. There's a lot of different armies attacking each other.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, so they go back to the queen, and he's basically just like, she's like, all right, so you're willing to marry my son now? Because she thinks she means Baahubali. And she's like, yeah. So she goes up to stand next to him.
She's like, where the fuck you going?
Yeah. Ron's son, dumbass.
And everyone's just like...
And she's like...
I'm not fucking marrying that weirdo.
Yeah, I want to marry him. So the queen is just like, unacceptable. And then Baahubali... She's like, basically sends her guards to like, lock her up. And then Baahubali goes and like...
He's like, a single hand on her is like touching my soul. I think I also like this because I really like people when they're like, I will protect my love.
Yeah.
And he does that a lot. She's like, anything for her. And then his life kind of doesn't go to shit because he's still like rich and famous and everyone loves him. But he's like, you won't be king. And then he's like, okay, I'll be the commanding officer. And then his brother's just like, what if I do this? You're not the commanding officer anymore. And it just kind of keeps doing that. But he's just like, well, everyone still loves me, even though I'm poor. Because everyone's just like, you're our king. And the brother's just like, what am I going to do here? He's like, he wants to kill him, but he doesn't really know how.
So yeah, he basically sets up one of the goated characters, in my opinion. He just makes a stupid mistake.
Yeah.
Because earlier in the movie, the guy who he was like kind of like vetting up the whole time, there's a scene where he like, they're getting attacked and he basically like goes in and the guy's basically like, Baahubali, save us. And he's like, no, like, there basically comes a time when you're going to have to, like, save yourself. And he, like, gives him a little dagger. And then he just like goes like full like Boromir mode where he's just like and just like
Kumara.
Yeah.
Like he's sick. Like that scene's actually sick.
Yeah, I like that one quite a bit. But he overhears the king and his father talking about, they're like, we're going to have him killed, and his wife.
And his father's like, no, we can't have that happen. Even though, as an audience member, you're like, what the fuck are you talking about? You've been saying this entire time.
Yeah.
So it's obviously the audience, it's a setup that from the get-go. But I think that makes it more painful. You're like, no, not Kumara.
But yeah, so basically the king talks him into... not the king, but the king's father talks him into trying to assassinate the king himself. Yeah. And he's like, all right, for Baahubali, I will do this. And then he does. And then it turns out, oh no, it was a trap, and it was made to look like Baahubali sent him to execute the king. So the queen sees this and is basically like, all right, you have my full permission to basically just put a hit out on Baahubali. And in order to do this, they send, what's his name?
Katapa.
They send Katapa, the royal guard. And he really does not want to do this. He's very insistent. And honestly, this is the moment. You like this character. I don't like this character. I like his characterization, but I don't like him as a person because of this.
Katapa?
Yes.
I get it. And I went back and forth on this, but I'm just like... I think at the end of the day, I have to be like, I have, even though I'm not a spiritual person, I have to like put myself into like this character's shoes. And it's like, he loves his family and he knows like in his mind, this is not the end. Like, so to save both of their souls, like he needs to do this, like, which I get. I still like, I'd be like, what the fuck? This is the only, I'm gonna die? No thank you.
I would have put my faith into Baahubali and been like, you can save like both of us if I just tell you what's going on.
Yeah. No, I get that as well.
Yeah.
But, just the way that he had been like, I'm not gonna do it. And she's like, fine, I'll kill him. And he's like, I can't. You'll be damned to eternal damnation. I can't do that. So I get it. I get why you don't like that, but I still enjoy it. And I also like that he goes out and he's like, oh, I'm dying. You better get out of here. And he keeps trying to just go. And it doesn't end up happening. And they had like a big fight earlier in the movie where they're like helping each other fight. And they do the same thing in this one, but it's like, oh god, he's gonna kill him. And
he turns around and stabs him in the back with his own sword. And then Baahubali, takes it with stride. He dies sitting up, and he's like, look out for my mother.
He's like, I need my sword. I need to look really swag when I die.
It's a real, like, Whitebeard moment, just like, ugh. And then, of course, the king just comes over and kicks him over.
Just, like, starts teabagging him pretty much. Like, literally, he just starts, like, stabbing him.
And then he admits, he's like, haha, I set this whole thing up. My fucking mother's an idiot. And, of course, the guard is like, here's this, and goes back to the queen and is like, yeah, you fucked up. And so did I, but we're gonna fix this because your king's evil. And then Baahubali's wife came in. She just gave birth. She had been pregnant this time. And basically the queen is like, I'll protect the child. And
she's like, this is the real king right here to like all of the people. And
the king wanted her to strangle the baby in front of all the fucking civilians. It's like, I can't imagine that would have gone over.
Yeah, bro, I know you're evil, but you might want to tone it down a little bit.
Those townspeople really liked Baahubali. They would probably freak the fuck out if they watched the queen just strangle his child. But yeah, so she's like, this is the true heir to the throne, and that pisses off the king, and then she flees, and that's where like the beginning of the movie happens, and then we pick up modern day.
Yeah. Where he hears this and he's like, okay, let's go fucking kill him.
Alright. We got 30 minutes left in the runtime. I'm gonna make this a quick one. So yeah, they launch an attack on the kingdom, and probably my favorite part, they like cut off the head of the giant like gold statue of him that was risen earlier in the movie. Or his mom blows it up.
Yeah.
And it comes down and it like just floats away in a river. And then that comes later. But yeah, basically just Baahubali fights the king, wins. And it's a pretty cool sequence. He's like fighting chains.
Yeah. We haven't talked about like the action sequences and the CG yet because I just wanted to talk about the story first and then dive into that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, that's Baahubali.
He becomes the king, and then he's like, if whoever is not with the people goes to hell or something. I don't remember exactly.
He says something pretty righteous, though.
Yeah, he says something pretty righteous, and then we just get like credits with like the big golden head just floating down. And eventually it hits the fucking bottom of the mountain where he put that shrine in the beginning. And I was like, yeah, that's a pretty good ending. I like that. But yeah, so that's Baahubali.
Let's talk about some of the insane CG in this movie.
Yeah, there's some pretty crazy CG. Yeah. There's some of it that looks pretty fucking good though.
Yeah,
like there were points where I was like, is this really the elephant or is that like a CG elephant? And then there were some shots where it's like, that's clearly a CG elephant.
It's interesting. They don't do it. They stop doing it. They do it in the first movie for some of the scenes early on, and then they stop doing it. But like, I was watching this on Netflix at least, and in the bottom left corner, it would literally just say CGI. I'm thinking it was when he was fighting the like ox in the brother was fighting the ox in the ring. And I'm like, is that... Maybe it's, I don't know, but is that a sacred animal in India? Like, is that something that's like, oh, we gotta make it clear?
Maybe, yeah.
So I'm guessing it's similar to that. But, like, I think all the animals they don't look real, at least most of them, but I think it works. Obviously, these aren't gonna look as good as, like, a lot of Hollywood movies, but I like a lot of the CG in this because it's not, most of it isn't used to imitate life. It's used to expand on it. It's used to do things like, yeah, we're not going to be able to fucking launch ourselves in a circle of shields from a palm tree into the castle. Which one of the reasons I picked this movie is because I had seen a video of that. I'm like, gotta see that.
Yeah.
And it's very fun. Most of the CG that they do use, I think, is very fun. Some of it looks really bad, but it's all fun enough. And, you know, I can excuse bad CG if it's inventive and fun. You know, like if you're doing it to be cool, hell yeah, I'm in. A lot of like modern CG that I don't like is just like, this doesn't even have to be CG, and it doesn't look very good.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd agree. I think use of CG is fine in this movie. I like a lot of the action choreography.
I think actually maybe the worst CG I thought was when him and his like future wife are shooting arrows together. They'll pull 3 arrows, and it's goofy looking. But like that scene is very fun. I really like how they are in love and they're falling in love while saving the kingdom.
Yeah, there's one really jarring CGI shot, like, towards the very start of the first movie, where it's, like, the mother, and she's, like, holding up the baby in the water. And I want to say there's, like, a part, she, like, just, like, rips across, like, at the speed of a motorboat in the water. And I was like, oh, like, because it caught me so off guard. And I don't know if there's any other CGI in the movie that, like, hit me that hard, where I was like, oh, okay. But, yeah. Let's see.
I don't mind musicals, and I don't mind like musical sequences in movies. I like pretty much all the music in these movies, and I think the sequences are very well done.
Yeah.
It's such a weird sequence. At least for my Western eyes, but the scene in which they're falling in love in the first one, and he's like brushing his hand through her hair, and it like comes out, and she's like, "Oh, I'm beautiful now." It's very funny, but I think that's probably one of my favorite songs and sequences. I think it's very fun, and they were at the top of an icy mountain, and then now they're in like a weird like forest clearing that's like maybe used to be a castle or something. It's a very weird setting, but I like it quite a lot. But I think the second movie has the best sequence, like musical sequences, and the best action sequences. The fight with the brother, or I guess his uncle, is fucking sick. Like, there's some shots, like the shot where he's like about to throw the spear. That shot's sick as hell.
Yeah, no, it's pretty great. Yeah. I wasn't super huge into the musical sequences. There was one or two where I was like, I like this song, but like, I didn't find that the musical sequences were like persistent enough, and I felt like the movie the two movies had a pacing problem in general a little bit. So it kind of like reminded me of how I felt like about like all the fucking like 5-minute like music videos and like the Snyder cut of the Justice League, where it's like, yeah, I get it. This movie's kind of long enough. Do we really need this? And it's like,
I get it. That's fair. I do think they do break up the pacing. I don't think they're put in as well as I don't think they're paced as well as they should be, placed in. I don't mind the idea of them, and I don't mind the execution of them, but just the structure of them, I think. Yeah. I would agree with, is a little tiring. I think in general, the second movie has better pacing, and better songs and better execution. I don't think it's like, I like both movies, but I just think the second one is like quite a bit better.
Yeah, I'd agree.
There are some fun scenes in the first one, though. I do, for sure. Yeah. I do like that scene where he's fighting the Hawks.
I forgot to talk about the best scene in the whole fucking movie.
Is it when they're sliding down the mountain?
No, there's a scene where basically, like, the mother, it's like right when, like, the queen's about to take the baby, and she's like, promise that you'll come back to this land one day. And then the baby hand just plops in her hand, and it's just like, it's kind of stupid, but it's so good at the same time. It's like the idea that this baby is just sentient and very virtuous. And it's just like, yes, I will put it on my word.
I promise, grandmother, I will return to my ancestral homeland to fight off my evil uncle.
Yeah, it's just like, yes. But, yeah, I'm trying to think of anything else I really want to say.
There was something. Oh, I also appreciate how, like, brutal a lot of the movie is. Like,
oh, yeah.
And especially, like, this hero that's supposed to be, like, very righteous. I really respect that at the end, they're like, oh, they would probably just spare this guy or, I don't know, give him a quick death. But no, they really did just burn him alive. And I'm like, fuck yeah. That guy's a horrible monster. He's murdered a lot of innocent people. Oh, because he had, like, murdered the wife's, like, entire village.
Oh, yeah.
He's like, oh, you're not going to be with me? I'm going to murder everyone there and burn it to the ground. But I really appreciate that. And I also appreciate that they didn't just have the head fall on him. Because I really expected, they're like, oh, they're going to have it's irony. When they're like, no. I'm like, good. Yeah. I also really like the scene when him and his brother. I really like the scenes with him and his brother, like the past scenes where like they are kind of working together. I'm like, these work really well. Like when they're going to find that like spy inside the kingdom, and they go to that kingdom, almost
kills him.
Yeah, I'm like, these are good. Like this, and it expands on his brother's character a little bit. He's always kind of evil, but at least they expanded a bit. It's like, at least this feels maybe a little more realistic. Some of it is just like, this is the most evil person on Earth. But
yeah. I almost thought they were going to do a more nuanced thing with his character, because I was kind of mixed up going into, like, the backstory a little bit, because they had mentioned before that the king's father had, like, the crippled hand. Mm-hmm. And I got it mixed up and thought that he was, like, Baahubali's brother, And that scene where he like grabs the scorpion from like about to stain his mother, I thought that was like the bad king. And I was like, oh. And then it took me a while to be like, I was like, oh, that's an interesting choice to like have him like wound his hand in that way. Mm-hmm. But like then I realized, I was like, oh no, that was Baahubali.
Yeah. Always was.
Yep.
He's so righteous.
Yeah. So it's like, oh, okay, cool.
And, you know, that Baahubali is a cool dude, too. He was, like, a great guy. Yeah. It was, like, I like the scenes where he's just, like, interacting with people as well. Mm-hmm. I think it does flesh out this character and make it more believable. It's like, oh, yeah, this is the people's champion. People fucking love this guy. Yeah.
No, I really like this movie, primarily because it reminds me a lot of, like, a One Piece flashback, or just kind of a One Piece arc in general.
That's fair.
And, like, Baahubali definitely, like, has that just, like, you know, in One Piece, they're, like, the conquerors, like, the people who just, like, are pure determination, pretty righteous, typically.
I think maybe I wasn't as annoyed as other people. Like, some of the other people didn't like the son as a character, because he was more jovial and stuff. But maybe it's because he kind of reminded me of Luffy, where he was just kind of like, la la la, just fucking around. And then as soon as, like, someone that he cares about is in danger, he's like, I'm gonna break every bone in your goddamn body. Yeah.
No, I'm definitely a fan of, like, the jovial, like, leaders. Like,
and then it was just fucking time to kill. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, the scene I was thinking of, he picks up because the brother has this weird chariot thing with the giant spikes at the front that spin around, but it breaks and one of the lion heads fall off at the beginning or at the end of the first movie, and Baahubali picks it up and he starts fucking like killing the main like evil king with that, and I was like, hell yeah! I really like that scene, and I actually thought they might do it again, with the son, which I think could have worked as well. I like the final fight quite a bit. He like picks up a tree and starts whacking him with it.
Yeah.
But I do think that this movie has some really, like, I think the cinematography works pretty well, but it also has some really fucking sick shots. Like screenshot, this is a sick shot. Like when Baahubali Sr. is stabbed, I think does look cool. When they're having the spear fight, like, isolated, these scenes are, like, look sick as hell. And sometimes that's all you need from a movie.
Yeah.
You know?
No, I'd say that this definitely checks off like a lot of like good blockbuster checklists.
Yeah, like, and I almost the next day I was like, I kind of want to just watch another Indian movie because it has like this. It has a really fun like tone to it. This one had a really fun tone to it, and I do like the pace. It was like, I didn't mind the length of the second one. I think the first one kind of dragged a bit. The second one, I felt like, yeah, this is go.
Yeah, it was mostly the first one where I was like, I felt like they had made the questionable decisions with the pacing. Like, I still find it to be a very weird decision to have like the first half of the flashback be the last half of the first movie.
Yeah,
and the first half of the second movie.
It is probably, they could have probably just made 3 2-hour-long movies and been fine. But like, I think it's just like, and I've been looking at Indian movies, and it just feels like, I think it's just like, that's the standards. Like, movies gotta be like, 2.5, 3 hours. There's a bunch of like romantic comedies I was looking at. I'm like, maybe I should watch this. This is really well rated. I'm like, this is 3 hours and 45 minutes. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
I feel like I could fall in love with someone faster than that.
Yeah. But, yeah, Baahubali.
All right. I think you're going to give the first one a 5. A 6? Okay. I think you're going to give the second one a 7. Okay.
I think you'd give the first one a 7 and the second one an 8?
First one I give a 6, second one I give an 8.
Oh, okay.
Pretty close. Yeah, no, I had a lot of fun. Especially that second one. I was just like, this energy, it just keeps going. Joe watched the first one with us, and he was incredibly hot, and he was like, this is the best movie I've ever seen. But he didn't watch the second one with us, and I'm like, Joe, that one was like actually great. Like,
yeah.
But I do really want to watch RRR, which is the new one he made. Like, I'm pumped because it also seems like it looks like it maybe has dual protagonists, like two buddies, and I fucking love that chemistry. So yeah, I'll let you know when I watch it. As soon as it's available, I'm like, I'm fucking watching that.
That's fair.
All right. So before the podcast, you said, London, you know what I really want more than anything? I want to watch the movies out of the bag. Is that correct?
I did say that.
Okay. Are we doing 2? Right?
Yeah, let's do 2.
All right.
I don't even remember what the fuck I put in there. So.
I know that Pierre put Sadako versus Kayako in here.
Okay.
I picked 1. And that 1 is something. It is going to be National Lampoon's Endless Bummer.
Yeah, that one was one of mine. That one is apparently really awful, but I really like the cast in it. So it's like, it's also got a different name.
Bummer.
I know it's on Tubi. Yeah, you'll have...
Oh, it's got Matthew Lillard's in it.
Yeah.
He's on the cover. This movie's gonna be bad, isn't it?
Oh, yeah.
All right.
And so is this one. You're really not gonna like this.
Oh, thanks. Okay. LaQuisha again. No.
Superhero movie.
No!
Yeah.
Oh, god damn it. Okay. Holy fuck. Those are gonna be rough.
Yeah.
Were those both your picks?
Yes.
Alright, you piece of shit.
Minus the star of that movie aside, I thought it would be interesting to take a look at what pop culture thought was funny about superhero movies pre-MCU.
Yeah, because this was right around the time of Iron Man 1.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
But yeah, it clearly stars
Drake
the devil.
Bell. Yeah, wow, yeah. Oh, I've been watching iCarly. The new season came out. Season 2 has been... so season 1 was kind of, it was kind of bad, but Jerry Trainer was in it. Season 2, first episode was okay. Second episode, actually really good. Okay. Like, actually very funny. So I'm having hope. It might be a one-off, but it's like a watchable enough show, and it doesn't, like, outstay its welcome, and I'm like, whatever. If it's kind of okay, it's whatever. I get to see Jerry Trainer.
Yeah, I have Paramount Plus now for Star Trek, so maybe I'll check it out. We'll see. Maybe I'll check out that one episode. 2-2?
Yeah, 2-2. Did you watch the original at all?
The original iCarly? Yeah, I think I saw all of it.
Okay, because it's like a Lubert, the dormant, he sues them for all the horrible shit they did to him.
That's fair.
So, like, they just talk about that the whole episode, pretty much. Yeah, it's pretty funny.
Yeah, I'm interested to check that out. But, yeah, so...
Okay, so next, Jesus Christ. Whew, this is gonna be rough one. What was the last bag episode we did?
I think it might have been the season finale.
Oh yeah, it was the big one.
Yeah.
Let's just check the bag real quick. What kind of bad shit? Beware the Blob, Chatterbox, Garbage Pail Kids, and LaQuisha. Remember the weird musical sequence in Garbage Pail Kids? The single one?
Yes. Yes, I do. I mean, I don't remember what it was.
Chatterbox wasn't too bad.
I liked Chatterbox quite a bit. LaQuisha, no. What was the other one you said?
Beware the Blob.
Oh, yeah.
I
don't even remember what the fuck happens in that movie.
I thought it was really bad. I can't remember if I said it was better or worse than the first one. I think I said I slightly liked it more because there was like one scene that I kind of liked and it was shorter. Yeah. So I think... What's the worst thing you watched for the bag? Besides LaQuisha. That's like the obvious one. Was it? Well, we watched Epic Movie. That was the first one.
Family
so
Guy,
I guess it's good. The superhero movie being the start of the second bag, I guess is fitting. And maybe I won't mind Endless Bummer like I didn't necessarily mind Dracula 3000.
Maybe.
Remember the Stupids? Because I actually don't.
Yeah, I remember the Stupids.
I remember he was pretending to be a bush, I think.
There is a scene where he pretends to be a bush.
I remember he was stupid.
He thinks that the government is stealing his trash, and he turns out to be right, and it turns out to be like an alien conspiracy, and they have that CGI dog, or that stop-motion dog.
Do you remember 9/11? The movie!
Night 11s, you mean Last of the Living?
No. 9/11.
Oh, 9/11. I do remember 9/11, the movie.
Charlie Sheen.
With Charlie Sheen.
Yeah.
The 9/11 conspiracy theorist in a 9/11 movie. Ew. Which, I guess if there's one thing you're going to make conspiracy theories of, I guess there's worse things, but...
Yeah.
That's,
okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's going to be rough. I'm going to cry, probably. At least, I think they're both pretty short. I think
they're both like 90 and under.
Yeah, I think Endless Bummer is an hour and 27 minutes. Superhero movies an hour and 25.
Yeah. Hooray.
And then, I have seen... Let's see. I might... That might be all of the Masons or whatever. Oh, no, he did. Superhero movies not even made by the same guys?
No, it's made by... I'm pretty sure the people who did the Naked Gun movies. Which is slightly...
Nope.
No?
Well, maybe they produced it, or maybe they wrote it? No?
Yeah, because I want to say I remember the DVD cover I had when I was a kid advertised Naked Gun on there.
Yeah, it's produced. It's
okay.
Just produced. He just produced it.
Yeah, I know Leslie Nielsen's in it.
Yeah.
He's always a treat, even if the stuff he's doing is...
Friedberg and Seltzer, the guys behind like Epic Movie and Disaster Movie, they didn't do a superhero movie.
Oh. Well, maybe that's...
They did Super Fast, the Fast and Furious one.
Maybe that's like the smallest grain of hope that it won't be as bad as we're thinking it will be. Yeah. I haven't watched it.
Maybe.
I remember some of the jokes.
Rated slightly higher. Like Epic Movie and like Meet the Spartans and Disaster Movie. Those all have like a 1.0 to 1.2 on Letterboxd. Superhero movie, 2.0. So it's going to be at least twice as good.
Yes. But yeah, fucking... Superhero movie should be interesting. Endless Bummer. It's got a different name that it's under.
Well, it's on Endless Bummer for Letterboxd, it seems.
Yeah, on Tubi TV, it's listed as like something else. It's got an alternate title, so just be aware of that if you're planning on watching it at home. You'll have to do a little.
All you people
research.
listening.
But, yeah. So. Yeah,
that's gonna be rough, and then we'll have a deep dive, I think. Which I think it'll be yours. Oh yeah, you picked One Piece.
Yeah, I did One Piece, so it'll be yours.
So mine, cool. I should pick something just fucking sick as hell. We're gonna watch the rest of the movies by the director we talked about today.
Oh boy,
that'd be sick. Actually, no, those. I think there's only like 3 or 4. They'd have to be not too many, because they are long.
Yeah.
All right. Bye, everyone.
So long.